Hello, my name is Bertha Wheaton, and I am here with my Institutional Management for Healthcare classmate, Ms. Fallon Chaney. Fallon and I would like to introduce and welcome, beginning in September of this year, the Senior Advisor for Enterprise Strategic Initiatives within the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs at the University of Illinois Hospital and Health Sciences System, also known as UI Health, Mr. Michael Zinn. Since March of 2015, Mr. Zinn has served in various capacities at UI Health, initially as Chief Financial Officer for the health system. He was involved in most all aspects of the enterprise. In September 2017, he served as Interim Chief Ambulatory Officer. After a national search process in February 2018, he was selected as Chief Executive Officer for the university's hospital and clinics. Prior to joining UI Health, Mr. Zinn served as an engagement partner at Tatum LLC in Chicago, a national professional services firm in the healthcare industry. Mr. Zinn has additionally served in various roles within the highly successful executive administration teams of Northwest Community Healthcare and Hospital in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and of Munson Medical Center in Traverse City, Michigan. In his more than 40-year career, Mr. Zinn has served in many healthcare leadership capacities, such as CFO, COO, CIO, and CAO. Mr. Zinn is recognized for aligning strategic direction with financial capabilities and operational improvement potentials, while also ensuring capital capacities are optimized. Mr. Zinn is a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives, ACHE, the Healthcare Financial Management Association, HFMA, and the Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society, HIMSS. Mr. Zinn earned his BBA and MBA from the University of Michigan. Welcome, Mr. Zinn, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to the discussion.
And so now we will begin our interview with questions from Ms. Fallon.
Hello, Mr. Zinn. My name is Fallon. I have been employed at University of Illinois for 16 years. Just want to give you a little bit about myself. And I'm really excited that you would meet with us on today. I would like to ask you a few questions regarding healthcare administration. Can you talk about your professional journey that led you to this position?
Sure. First, I'm looking forward to this discussion. I will say that. Thank you both for asking me. I have had an unusual journey to my present and recent roles. As Ms. Wheaton mentioned earlier, I've had a cross-section. I've had the good fortune of having a cross-section of responsibilities throughout healthcare. I started as a director of information systems and chief information officer over four decades ago, over 40 years ago. My background educationally was in systems and accounting, and I had, for the first part of my beginning of my career, been in information systems consulting, which turned into that type of consulting in healthcare. I then transitioned into hospital administration as a chief information officer. And from there, both the combination of my curiosity and the opportunities that were afforded me, I have been in a cross-section of roles from that point forward. I spent time as the chief revenue cycle officer. Bertha didn't mention that, but I was actually that. And then chief financial officer at a regional referral center. And then at a large suburban hospital, which turned into a chief operating officer role. And from there, I've done various things. All of that has been a part of the journey that led me to here to the various roles I've had at the University of Illinois. And I would say, for the complexity of the organization that UI Health is, and the needs of the organization to implement various things, my background was a combination of fortuitous for myself and I think for the institution in that it required the breadth of knowledge in the CEO to be able to implement the various things we've implemented the last 5 years. And so all of the variety of things I've done in my background uniquely qualified me not just to be the CEO here, but in the situation that the University of Illinois was in, the University of Illinois Hospital was in, required somebody with the type of background I had. And so that's been mutually beneficial, I would say. And my journey and the various and somewhat unusual path that I've taken throughout my career worked exceedingly well here at the University of Illinois Hospital. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's amazing. I'm just like smiling. I'm like it's this amazing. I love to hear that. So encouraging. And I do have a few more questions for you. When you when you have entered into a new workplace in the past, would you please be able to describe how have you gone about meetings and maybe developing relationships with your new coworkers, supervisors, and reporting staff?
Of course. It's an excellent question. I'm going to start by saying what I didn't do and
Okay.
what I haven't done, especially I'll say in the second half of my career. I have not led with position or title. I have led by getting to know people as people. I have found that to be the most successful way to start up and to have an interactive relationship where I can be influenced and I can influence. And that is best done. The equalness of how I just said that is best done when you start by having a relationship that is about the two humans that are interacting, not about the positions. That may be somewhat unusual in the class that you're presently in to hear that. But influence, I have found, is a far more important thing than authority. That when you want to have good communication and when you want to be able to lead, leading with influence is just a better place to be. It is a more comfortable place for all individuals involved, and it is a more lasting relationship and allows for more lasting decision making because it makes it easier for people to interact and to feel as if they've been a part. To have influence requires you to allow yourself to be influenced, and that's been something I've learned over the decades that I've been doing this. I'm not sure I did that very well in the beginning of my career. I think I do it a little bit better now.
Mr. Zen, that was really amazing. I myself have witnessed over the years from working at UI Health that I have witnessed, as you said, that like a lot of people will go just according to titles. Everything is title with everyone. I myself have never been that way. When I used to work in the ED, um, and I was over the clerical staff, a lot of the employees would say, "Oh, who is this person or who is that?" Because Jill Stimmerman would actually come over and get me, have me like try to get me to go to different meetings and different things like that, and they didn't know who I was. They were like, "Oh, well, she's our lead." They're like, "What? She's so amazing. She's so cool. I didn't even know." Because people are people. it's like a family. Everyone is, it takes, all of us to actually make things go along, and that's just beautifully said. And I could really appreciate that. Thank you. And another question, how do you motivate your employees, if I may ask?
A little bit is in how I do it is in the answer I just gave before.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, to a part of motivating people is not so much about me motivating them, it's about them motivating themselves. I like to be treated as an adult and make as many decisions about how I do things and believe and have the confidence in myself that I'll get stuff done. If I want to be treated as an adult, I would assume that everybody else around me wants to be treated as an adult as well. As such, within that, the motivation is to allow people to have enough control of how they do things and their destiny, as long as they're working in line with our strategies and tactics, that they have the freedom to show the initiatives to get things done and not be inhibited in that regard. So how you do that is by making sure they're included in discussions, that they hear as much as possible, that you explain as much as possible what decisions need to be made, and if decisions have been made, why, so that they understand as much as possible about where we're going and why we're going places. And the why is really important. Everybody deserves and wants to know why we're doing various things. Taking a little bit of time to explain it helps to align and get people excited about what the end result, end product, and strategy that we're aiming at. And that seems to, people then tend to be motivated, self-motivated enough, especially in at least in healthcare and in management, that they'll go down the path very quickly and be motivated if they understand and buy into where we're trying to go.
Yes, sir.
In that
It,
communication, which is a part of other answers I'll probably give, the ability to communicate is critical, and it's
yes,
the communicating why
yes,
is essential.
yes,
That everybody deserves to know why decisions have
yes,
been made.
sir. That's amazing. And our professor, Dr. Rector, she also states how big communication is, and she's really big on, as you stated, always, always, always. She always says she can't say it enough. Always include your staff. And yep,
Everybody deserves to understand why we're doing various things, what we're trying to accomplish, how they're a part of what we're trying to accomplish,
yes, sir.
and how
And
we all have a job within that context. I have a job description. It's a new job description, as Bertha just mentioned. But I had it when I was CEO. I had a job description. Everybody has a job description, and we're successful when everybody does their job to the best of their abilities.
Yes, sir. I think you answered my fourth question, my fourth question, which was my last question, but you definitely answered it. I'll just because I'll go ahead and say it, but yes, sir, you really answered it. In your opinion, what skills do you feel are important for a new graduate as myself in the healthcare administration field to possess? But you have answered that as far as communication and just including the coworkers and letting them know the why, that everyone definitely deserves to know why, and explaining things that I do, and so I can really appreciate you for that. Thank you.
I would add one other thing for new graduates in
Yes,
this
sir.
regard, and that is that the ability to project manage and to have a project management orientation to both your work and the projects and to your staff is critical to moving organizations, and in my mind, applying that to what you do as a leader it's a key component of success, along with the things I've mentioned before.
project management. That's great. I'm writing that down as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Zen. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna now have Miss Bertha ask a few questions, and thank you so much for all. I've taken many notes, and I really appreciate you. I'm really happy.
Okay, thank you, Fallon, for your questions. So we're gonna go ahead and just delve into the few questions that I have.
Of course.
And you kind of already touched on them, but again, I will ask the question because you may have more tokens that you'd like to share with us. So describe how your soft and hard skills have evolved as you climbed the corporate ladder. What became more or less important for your success?
Well, yeah, you're right. To some degree, I just answered a bit. What the whole project management aspects, I started in that. If you remember, I started in information systems, and implementation and project management is critical. In terms of successfully implementing change, successfully implementing systems. What I learned over time is applying that capability to leadership and management is important. To take it conceptually down that path. Other aspects of my capabilities over time, the whole issue of process improvement, being able to analyze and really understand process improvement, and then managing processes after you've defined the improvement. We sometimes forget that the management of the improved processes is critical. I've learned over time, it's not just the analysis, it's then you need to manage the improved process once it's in place. And those capabilities, applying those capabilities to leadership has been, I think, something that's helped me be successful. And then the whole notion of communication, which I've talked about before.
Yeah.
Being able to show a part of yourself as a human and a leader at the same time is what people really want to know, is that a leader, just as simply as a leader, becomes a thing. A leader as a human becomes a human, and giving a part of yourself in a human way and learning how to do it in a way that's comfortable. And that may sound simplistic, but it's not as easy as it would seem. It wasn't as easy for me as it would seem. I had to learn how to give of myself openly in front of a lot of people. That's not all that easy to do sometimes. But getting comfortable with that, I think, is important to be a leader. It's not necessarily important to be a good manager, but it's important to be a good leader. And I certainly learned that lesson during COVID. I learned it in a big way. People, I think, needed to know that there was a humanness to our leadership. And hopefully I was able to supply that a bit.
I believe so. I value your comments, and I do see you as a very good leader for the hospital and what you did with the hospital within COVID. So that kind of leads into the next question, and you also touched on this a little bit earlier in your comments to Fallon, but how have you established a relationship with your employees to allow them to feel comfortable coming to you with comments and concerns?
Yeah, I've given the fundamental answer to that, the base answer to it, which is about communication and being able, it starts by my being open to communication to them. Any good communication is made up of four things. One individual or group needs to be talking or communicating one direction, and that same individual needs to be listening. On the other side of it, you have there's Fallon.
There she is.
There's the camera. And I know the face now. I remember the other party needs to be doing the same thing. When all four things are happening, you have good communication, which is the first fundamental to building a relationship. So it starts with communication and trying to make sure both things are happening. So certain probing questions to allow for it to happen both formally and informally. Building a relationship can be informal. At the beginning of the day, or at certain times, having discussions that are not necessarily strictly business, but are interpersonal exchanges about whatever topics are of interest, family, sports, theater, whatever the interest might be. So those types of things are helpful, but it's helping for people for you to get to know them and for them to get to know you. Once that level of communication is established, it starts to become important. It gives the basis for then communication can take place. I try to allow for people to understand the notion of, if you have a tough subject to talk about, if I have one or they have one, once this has been established, what's important is to get the subject objectively on the table. I often will actually take a piece of paper and say, we need to get this issue on the table, so it's now an objective thing between us, as opposed to words in the air. It becomes something that you can move around, and it becomes, from abstract, it becomes real, and the issue then isn't in people's minds. It sits as a thing on the table that can be made better, manipulated, discussed, and that seems to help with communications, even if it's a difficult communication in terms of with leadership or even with performance. Getting something on the table so that it can be discussed and put in front of me, and it helps me. If I have a difficult thing to convey to an individual, being able to have it, say it, have it then be objectively in writing in front of you, it breaks down any misunderstanding of any communication going on, and that's critical. Getting to a common place of understanding is critical. So does that get to the answer the
yes, it does.
you're talking about?
Yes, it does. And even just the little time that we have worked together, I do feel comfortable coming to you and speaking with you about any issues or questions that I may have, as with this. You made yourself very personable and presentable.
And I'll joke about it. Never. I've told people, never be afraid to ask a question. Always bring your concerns. Always bring them. I want to hear the most difficult subjects, and I'm open to hearing everything. But the ultimate goal is to not have any issues. So don't.
Yes.
The goal is not to have to do it. So that's that just is. It does get back to being comfortable with allowing people to see who you are and what you are, separate from being a boss. Yeah, I just believe in that. But you can't lose the fact that you're a boss in the process. And that just takes some experience to work your way through. But it comes with experience. If you have those mindsets, over time you figure these things out more. It's the same with presentations. You didn't ask about this. Presentations are something that most people find exceedingly difficult, especially in the beginning of their careers, that they're difficult to do. I have learned, I was in one seminar where the speaker described any presentation as good theater, that you need to be able to think of it as you have theater, just in theater where you have exit, stage, right? You enter from various things and you think through what's there. You're making presentations that are in many ways theater, and that's not a bad thing. And that I resonated with a lot. It helped me get comfortable in front of people. That it was more of a presentation that was being described, not necessarily that I had to get through the content or what the content was. I was comfortable with content. It was the presentation. And getting comfortable with making presentations as if you're in your own family room and you're talking to a bunch of friends. Even though there may be 300 friends, you have to think of them as a bunch of friends. It helps be comfortable in front of people. You didn't ask that question, but
No, but thank you for the tip. Because I need that. Thank you.
well, I think that's a part of, it's a part of, I could have said that's a part of communication, extending my discussion about the importance of communication to have that include not just with individuals in one-on-one or one-on small groups, but the same, what I described applies to large groups. The more people who you're presenting to, the more it becomes important for them to feel that you're giving a part of yourself, and that it's not just a stilted communication, that it still maintains the humanness of communication.
Very good. Thank you very much. I have two more questions. Describe a conflict that you were involved in at work, and I'm sure you've had many. How did you resolve the conflict?
Yeah. A couple that come to mind, I'm not sure I can talk about very easily.
If we need to skip past this question, that's fine.
No, the conflict I'll talk about goes back a ways in my career, and it was largely related to I'll use generalities. There were two leaders, two executives who were overlapping in responsibility and struggled mightily with the difference between executives or managers or leaders competing against each other versus collaborating with each other, and to describe to them both separately and then together that their internal competition was both hurting the organization, but also hurting both how they were both being perceived, both individually and collectively within the organization. So in many ways, that conflict between two leaders in terms of responsibilities that abutted to each other naturally, and how rather than figuring out how to compete through collaboration versus just straight out competing where everybody understood the competition was there, and describing to them how destructive it was both to the organization as well as to them as individuals, is how I resolved, in large part resolved it. And I would say one of the individuals very much understood it, the other struggled with it. And that, come to think about it, that individual has in their career succeeded quite well.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
But I would say also, I have resolved, I have another issue where I counseled somebody with regard to a conflict. I counseled one particular individual to have patience, and when they thought they were getting to the end of the patience, I said, then have great patience. The things would work out, and usually patience is a virtue. In personality conflicts, especially, being the patient one usually is being the wisest.
Okay. Thank you very much. And my final question is one that I really like, because it also allows you to share with these students and hopefully help them in their future, on their future path. Is there a book, a TED Talk, an article, a movie, a documentary that you would recommend to encourage or motivate future health administrators?
I've got a great story on this one, and it's really true. You can go in my office and see the book. If I had known the questions, I would have grabbed the book. It's sitting on my desk. In 1992, I left, and I wonder, am I going to be able to share a screen and you'd see it?
Yes, I can.
I'm
You
gonna I'm gonna tell you the story. In 1992, I left Munson Medical Center in Traverse City, Michigan, to take on the executive vice president role in suburban Chicago at a large system in Chicago. The chief nursing officer, as a part of the going away present, gave me a book and a note saying, I give you this book because I find you to be the most spiritual of my colleagues. I have carried that book with me. I have carried it when I've traveled. I continue to have it. I'm going to share it. Yeah, Dr. Janet Lynn, who is our chief strategy officer, referred to this book and said, she said, you embody a couple phrases in this book. And I took her into my office and went to my bookshelf and said, there's the book you just referenced. And it is this book, if I can share it.
I mean,
And let's see if this is going to work. Can you see it?
yes.
These are the Tao sayings. It's a book. If I had it in front of me, I'd leaf it, but it's on my desk. I'm at home. I'm not at my desk. They're very short sayings about leaders in most part, about people in most part. I have read this book probably 1,000 times. It's a quick read. You go through it. And if I were to say for anybody, both in helping with things in from a work environment and how to lead people, and just in daily lives, this is something that this book is something I would highly. I've read it, like I said, probably 1,000 times. It goes in my backpack if I'm going on a plane, and I'll read various things in it. And there are leadership quotes in here that I have tried to emulate. A little bit of what I've talked about today generates out of this book. And that's when in doubt, and if you have a little bit of time to read things, I'd read doubt. It is helpful. It's helpful in life. It's helpful as a leader.
Thank you very much.
And
Well,
you can walk in my office and see it.
You know I'm going in
You'll
there.
see it sits on my desk. I had it out because it's I really truly I showed it to Dr. Lynn. She quoted out of the book, and I said, well, I'm glad you're describing this particular chapter because it's dog-eared in the book. If I had it with me, I'd quote it exactly.
I love Dr. Lynn. She's amazing. I've sat down and spoken with her a few times about different things. She's amazing. I love her drive because I'm really high driven. Like I like to figure out new things, new ways, and I'll just sit and think, and I'll look around, I observe while working, and I'll think my brain just goes, and I could turn this into this. I can do this, bring this over here. And before I know it, I have a plan. I love pilots. I just make up pilots. And that's how I became close with speaking, like with Janet and like Jill, and like because I will create different ways for different staff to work together versus separately, because I'm really big on everyone being a team. And I think it's just amazing. Like I've enjoyed our interview with you today. I'm just like smiling, like, oh my, I'm just like a kid soaking in so much energy, and it's just amazing, Mr. Zen. You're awesome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. That's nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I have had the good fortune to deal with a bunch of people who are awesome. So some of it's rubbed off on me. It's nice to know.
Well, this concludes our interview, Mr. Zan, and we would truly, truly like to again say thank you for your time and for sharing your tips with us and the comments that you gave us. We will take them to heart and share them with our classmates, our other classmates. But again, thank you for taking the time for helping to guide future healthcare administrators.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for including me, and please pass on, or I'll say on to your class, that having new leadership come into healthcare is vital. We need new great leaders. Thank you for considering it. Thank you to all of your class for considering healthcare as a career. One of the things I received was a coffee cup and a plaque from all of the administrative fellows that have been here since I've been here, and I cherish that as much as anything that I've received as a gift,
Aw.
because all of them are still here and doing wonderful things for the organization. So good luck to you, to both of you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to the rest of your class and
Thank you.
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
what they're doing. So thanks
Thank
for
you.
including me.
Thank you.
And are we done now?
Uh,
You want to end?
you, I, and Fallon are, but
Yeah.
you and I, we need to stay on just a little bit
Okay,
longer.
so you're gonna end your recording now, right? Is that?
Yes, let me end that.
Nice seeing you, Fallon.
Nice. Thank you.